Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with this magnificent object, the Michael Tilson Thomas Complete Sort of Universal Recordings, which, for purposes of this edition, are all on Deutsche Grammophon, but they weren't all issued that way. 14 CDs from Australian Eloquence. And once again, Eloquence does us proud. Now, of course, there's a huge Michael Tilson Thomas box coming in the next month or so. From CBS and RCA, which is going to have a lot of great stuff in it. You know, Tilson Thomas is a wonderful conductor. He really is, especially of non-traditional, or that is non-Germanic music, actually. Some people have claimed that he was the, most successful protege of Leonard Bernstein, but he's really his own guy. I think he's suffered from that comparison throughout his career. He's actually had some very, very interesting repertoire niches of his own and done some remarkable things, especially for American music, when he was given the opportunity to, which was not all the time. Anyway, let's look. We're going to deal with that when we talk about the big box that's coming. But this in itself has some extraordinarily interesting repertoire in it. It really does. It's not your same old, same old. And let's go through it. And I'll show you what I mean. I will say this is all original jackets, original coupling stuff. So there's not as much like packing together. It's going to all fit on fewer CDs. Let's put it that way. They've spread it out a little bit. Hey, what the hell? It's worth it. It's worth every nickel. I will say that immediately. First, Tchaikovsky Symphony No. 1. See, this was typical of this kind of stuff Tilson Thomas did earlier in his career. He was a wonderful conductor, and he filled in gaps in the repertoire. I mean, who makes singleton recordings of Tchaikovsky's First Symphony outside of Tchaikovsky symphony cycles? Well, Tilson Thomas did. He did a lot of interesting repertoire by major composers that way. He did the Tchaikovsky Serenades. He did the Brahms Serenades. He did, it was wonderful, actually. Maybe because he had to get recordings made, or because he wanted to. But he did it with great conviction. And this is a glorious Tchaikovsky First. Certainly it's the best singleton version of it out there, with the Boston Symphony in absolutely top form. It's gorgeous. Then we've got Schumann and Grieg piano concertos with Jean-Marc Louisada and the London Symphony Orchestra. Well, it's the Schumann and Grieg piano concertos with Jean-Marc Louisada. Are they good? Yes, they're good. Are they like you're going to scream and yell and jump up and down and drool and pant and heave? Well, no, I don't think so. And it's, more a Jean-Marc Louisada disc than a Tilson Thomas disc, but it's okay. I'm not complaining. They're nice. Debussy. Tilson Thomas is a great Debussy conductor. He really is. Fortunately, he's still with us. For how long, we don't know. As you know, he has terminal cancer. It's really terrible. And a brain tumor, glioblastoma, whatever that thing is called. It's a horrible, horrible thing. I have friends who passed away from the same thing. So I don't mean to be morbid, but we can only wish him well for as long as he has. And this is a great Debussy recording. It's the complete Image and the Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun with the Boston Symphony. Now, he remade the Image with San Francisco on their own label, which is another gorgeous disc, but this is just beautiful, wonderful, wonderful performance. He's so sensitive in this music. And this is very interesting. This is Debussy chamber music on this famous disc of all the Debussy sonatas, the late sonatas plus Syrinx, with the Boston Symphony chamber players. It is glorious, and Tilson Thomas is the pianist. He's the pianist, in the Ozawa Petrushka. He was the Boston Symphony pianist in a bunch of things. And so this is just marvelous. He's the pianist in the violin sonata and the cello sonata with Joseph Silverstein and Jules Eskin. And they are wonderful, wonderful performances. He's a very good pianist, too. It really is. Then we've got his the American stuff. Charles Ives, 3 Places in New England. Still one of the great Ives recordings ever, even though it's it's not the original version for full ensemble. It's the compacted version that Ives made, because the original bigger orchestra formation version had not been published, that it hadn't been edited and revised or figured out or whatever. And Ruggles' Sun Treader. Oh, yes. Now, he remade all the Ruggles orchestral music and some other things. all of Ruggles' music, period, for Sony with the Buffalo Philharmonic. And that was a wonderful, wonderful disc. But this Boston Symphony Sun Treader was pulverizing, absolutely smashing. And it's such a great work. A big, nasty, gnarly, mean, miserable, great piece of craziness by a really nasty, miserable, mean, bigoted son of a bitch. But a remarkable composer. Yes, so, do we care? No. Okay, Rite of Spring. The Rite of Spring and King of the Stars. I have to confess, I imprinted on this Rite of Spring. I've always loved it. I love it still. It's a fabulous Rite of Spring, and not because I imprinted on it. It's really held up. The playing is just extraordinary. The performance is savage and thrilling by turns. So is his San Francisco remake, by the way, which is on RCA, which is equally fine. It's just amazing. He was amazing in Stravinsky. He really was. And The King of the Stars was an incredible novelty in its time. It's a cantata for male chorus and orchestra. It's only 5.5 minutes long. And God knows what it means. And this was issued in 1972. So I was 11 when I got it. Wow. It's nice to be 11 and first encounter the Rite of Spring, especially in a performance like that. Oh, this is hot, too. This is the Piston Second Symphony. Certainly the best performance of that, and certainly one of the best performances of a Piston Symphony out there, since Charles Munch did number 6, and the William Schuman Violin Concerto, which is also one of his best works, a beautiful work, with Paul Tchaikovsky, who was an extraordinary violinist. He later became a conductor and did John Leif stuff, or Jan Leif's stuff in Iceland and whatnot, but really a terrific violinist, modern music, contemporary music specialist. The Piston Second is a great work if you don't know it. I played it. I love this recording so much that when I was program director person in my little community orchestra in New York, I insisted that we do the Piston Second Symphony. And I thought it was just sounded marvelous that I got to play cymbals and other things, and it was so much fun. Beautiful, beautiful work. Shostakovich Cello Concertos 1 and 2. The London Symphony Orchestra, Misha Maisky, excellent performances, really hot and heavy romantic performances, because that's the way Maisky is. He emotes, he swims all over the music. They're big, larger than life, Rostropovich style, you may want to say, only maybe even more grandiose. He just pours on the tone. Tilson Thomas accompanies, magnificently. It's first class, absolutely first class. And no one pays any attention to it because there are so many really fine recordings of the Shostakovich Cello Concertos. So, that's what happens. Then we have On the Town. Yeah, Tilson Thomas had, remember he did all those Gershwin things as well. He always had a real feel and attachment to American musical theater. And the recordings that he made in that field are all splendid. Uniformly excellent. So we've got, this is with the London Symphony, actually. At the same time that Bernstein was doing Candide and some of his own things, we get On the Town, which is just a great musical. We did this when I was in high school, by the way. Yes. So you've got Frederica von Stade, Tyne Daly as Hildy. Tyne Daly from Cagney and Lacey, Marie McLaughlin as Ivy, Thomas Hampson, Kurt Ullman, David Garrison, Sam Raimi, Evelyn Lear as Madame Dilly. My goodness, Evelyn Lear, Cleo Lane, Muriel Dickinson, just a great cast, and it's a fun performance. It's really more successful than Bernstein's versions of his own things with opera singers, actually, in some respects, because it captures more of the Broadway flavor, and the voices are very well cast and very well chosen. So Bernstein, we have A Quiet Place Suite, the symphonic dances from West Side Story, which are splendid, arias and barcarolles with Frederica von Stade and Thomas Hampson. Wonderful record. A Quiet Place, I think, is a disaster of a work. I really do. And it's better to hear it as a suite than to watch the complete opera, which is just, I think, embarrassing, frankly. So then we have another interesting tidbit. Elvis Costello, Il Sogno, the song cycle thing with the London Symphony Orchestra and Michael Tilson Thomas. Wonderful. I mean, that he did this. It's really good music. I like Elvis Costello. And I think that this was one of the more effective sort of classical / pop rock crossover. I don't know what you want to call it. It just works. It works, and it's lovely, and it's really great that he was able to do it. Of course, they were going to do it because they figured they could make a fortune off of it, and I really wonder how it sold. I'm very curious to know. I have no idea whether anybody paid any attention to it at all, but what the hell. It's the kind of thing Tilson Thomas could really sink his teeth into and project. And this is hot stuff. Tangazzo. Latin American music with Tilson Thomas's New World Symphony, which he founded and with which he made a few very, very fine records. There's a wonderful Villa-Lobos disc, too, of Bachianas Brasileiras and stuff on RCA, which will be coming back. Yes. But we've got the Chavez, Sinfonia India, Copland, Danzón Cubano, Roldan, Suite La Ribamberamba, Revueltas, Sensimaya, Caturlas, 3 Cuban dances, Roldan again, Ritmica, 5, Piazzolla's Tangazzo, and an awesome Hinastera suite from Estancia, which I played and which is just more fun than anyone has any right to have, especially that final Molombo, whomp with the xylophone, whomp with the xylophone. Yeah, oh my God, that's fun. And then we've got a wonderful tribute to one of Michael Tilson Thomas's teachers on the West Coast, I believe he was, Ingolf Dahl, who was a remarkable composer and musicologist. I mean, he's written some really important works about Western musical practice and civilization and whatnot. And his music's actually very enjoyable. It's in sort of the post-Hindemith school of listenability. It's quite listenable and kind of fun. You've got his concerto for alto saxophone, something called Hymn, music for brass instruments, and the Tower of St. Barbara. Really, really good stuff and worth listening to. This was a big surprise when it came out because nobody pays any attention to Dahl as a composer these days. He's known more as a writer and musicologist. But boy, this is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. A labor of love. A wonderful labor of love. And last but not least, I mean, it's gotten interesting, hasn't it? We started with Tchaikovsky, a little off the beaten path and standard Debussy. And now we're at Ingolf Dahl and all the way out there with this thing, Morton Feldman, which is as out as you go, his piano and orchestra, cello and orchestra, and Coptic light. I mean, these are all strange, atonal, shape, pattern, texture things. I love Morton Feldman. I think his music is marvelous. I think it has a vision and directness and clarity of utterance and purity of style, which are just splendid. And Tilson Thomas, I mean, he's amazing in this music. Absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's all been recorded before now. It's amazing that there are actually multiple versions of Coptic light and things like that, but no matter. You're not going to do better than this. And so that is this really, really, really interesting and important for the repertoire box of Michael Tilson Thomas doing some really unusual stuff. Everything from popular music to avant-garde classical to standard classics, off the beaten path, standard classics, if you want to call them that. A wonderful, wonderful conspectus of what the guy was about. When he was mostly at his very, very best, as he is throughout this whole box. It's an outstanding collection, an important collection. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.